This lesson is over multiplying and dividing fractions. Let's first talk about multiplying fractions. When we multiply fractions, we simply multiply the numerators, then multiply the denominators. There's nothing fancy that we have to do. We don't have to look for a common denominator. We don't have to multiply by the reciprocal. We just simply multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and then call it good. Make sure you always check to see if your final answer can be reduced. If it can be reduced, reduce it. If not, you're done. So we have 1/4 times 2/3 is our first example. So all I'm going to do is multiply 1 times 2, and then multiply 4 times 3. I have 2 over 12. Can that be reduced? It sure can. If you take 2 and divide by 2, you get 1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. Final answer, 1 over 6. Here's some more practice. So evaluate 5/4 times 1 over 8. So I'm just multiplying. I don't need to look for a common denominator. I don't need to try to state, change, flip, anything like that. I'm just going to simply multiply the top, multiply the bottom. 5 times 1 is 5. 4 times 8, 32. 5 over 32, it can't be reduced, so that is my final answer. Next one, 1 2/3 times 6 over 5. Now if you notice, the first fraction looks different than the last couple problems we've had. The first fraction is written as a mixed number. So before I start multiplying and getting all crazy with my math, I'm going to first change my mixed number to an improper fraction. As a reminder, when you do that, you need to take the denominator, multiply it to the whole number, and then add it to the numerator. That becomes your numerator, and then you leave the denominator the same. So we will have 3 times 1, which is 3, plus 2 is 5, so my numerator will be 5, and I keep my denominator the same. So we have 5/3 times 6 over 5. Now it looks like a more familiar problem. It looks like a problem that we've been doing. We're multiplying, so I'm going to multiply the top, then multiply the bottom. 6 times 5 is 30. 3 times 5 is 15. Can that be reduced? You bet. 30 over 15 becomes 2. That is your final answer. Take a second to try these 3 problems on your own. The answers are to the right of the arrows, so make sure you check your answers. If you have any questions, make sure you stop by and see me in class to get clarification. Moving on to dividing fractions. When we divide fractions, there is a special rule we have to follow. When we divide fractions, we have to multiply by the reciprocal. Some of you know this as state, change, flip, or same, change, flip, something along those lines. So when I multiply by the reciprocal, I'm going to do just what it says in parentheses. I'm going to keep my first fraction the same. It's going to stay the same. My division sign changes to a multiplication sign, and I flip my second fraction. I flip it to the reciprocal. So, looking at 2/3 divided by 16 over 9. When I go to divide, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. So my 2/3 stays the same. My division sign changes to a multiplication sign. And then my second fraction is flipped. Okay? I multiply by the reciprocal. Once you do that, your division problem is now a multiplication problem. So you can multiply the top numbers, multiply the bottom numbers, and then reduce. 2 times 9 is 18. 3 times 16 is 48. Reduce that down, you get 3 over 8. That is your final answer. Now some of you may have realized that you could cross cancel here. You have 3 and 9. 3 can be divided by 3, as can 9. So you could have simplified that. Here you have 2 and 16. 2 could be divided by 2, 16 could be divided by 2. If you cross canceled, you went from this step, skipped over the 18 over 48, and got directly here. So if you can cross cancel, it'll save you the extra step of reducing your final end answer. But if you're unsure of cross canceling, just go to this step and then reduce. Here's some more practice. 1/5 divided by 2. So before we go all crazy, I would strongly encourage you to rewrite that number 2 as a fraction. We can rewrite any whole number by putting it over 1. So 1/5 divided by 2 over 1. So now it looks more familiar, like the problems we've been working with. I'm dividing, so I need to multiply by the reciprocal. My 1/5 will stay the same. My division sign will change to a multiplication sign. And then I'll flip my 2 over 1. So 1/5 stayed the same, division became multiplication, and then I flipped this guy. So now it's just a multiplication problem. 1 times 1 is 1, 5 times 2 is 10, 1/10 is your final answer. 2 1/9 divided by 2/3. So we had a problem similar to this a couple slides ago. Now before you get all slap happy and start dividing, make sure you change that mixed number into an improper fraction. Otherwise, it's just going to be a whole bunch of confusing. So to do that, remember you take your denominator, multiply it to the whole number, 9 times 2, add it to the numerator, plus 1. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 1 gives us 19. Keep the denominator the same. So we have 19 over 9 divided by 2/3. We're dividing, so we need to stay, change, flip, or in other words, multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to keep my 19 over 9 the same. My division becomes multiplication, and I flip the second fraction. Okay? Go ahead and multiply. If you would like to cross cancel here, you're more than welcome to. If you're confused by that, just go ahead and multiply the numerator, then multiply the denominator. When you do that, you should get 57 over 18. And that does reduce to 19 over 6. That is your final answer. So here's a couple to try on your own. The answers are to the right of the arrows. Make sure you can get those answers. If you are not, please make sure you come by and get help. This is a very important concept. You need to be comfortable working with fractions. Best of luck to you all.